Hey there, my name's Tim from Clean Commit. This is a quick tour around the project management system we've been building for prefabricators. So the original client that we built this for build wardrobes and shower screens. But this system works really well for anyone who prefabricates anything that's going into a house or even building whole houses. So if they're prefabrication houses, so if you're doing kitchens or wardrobes is a really good example. Tiny houses, this could work. So the system is based around jobs. So like a builder you're working with, or a client calls up and says, hey, I need this thing. They get you on the phone. The first thing you do is add a new job. It's going to jump over into the test environment. You add your job, you pick from a list of items. When this is set up in your system, each item has a set of tasks that is attached to due dates. So for these guys, when you set up a wardrobe, there's about half a dozen tasks that have to happen based on the due date. So say the due date is in 10 days and the first task is like order custom materials. The next task is go and cut the aluminium, and then the tasks flow on from there. So they're all set up for every time you create a new job. You can pick from your customer directory, so you don't need to keep this in a file in a paper-based system anymore, or on your phone or whatever. You can load all of your customers up into the system. You pick an expected installation day, and then you list where the project is going to actually happen, or where the installation location is. So test location. Let's zoom in a bit. You can add images here. So let me just go into my test folder. Got some weird AI images here, and then make some notes. So this note is for the installer. Please be sure to check that this thing isn't broken. I mean, it's a pretty silly note, but it's the kind of thing you can do. So it just kind of supports the whole process. We're actually refining this workflow at the moment. We'll probably end up reworking this a little bit because it's quite specific to these guys. So the next step is adding the formula sheet. So this may not be relevant for everyone, but these guys work with a particular range of products, and the product manufacturer has cutting guides that you need to follow. So you plug the dimensions in based on the measurements that you take. So for this is a set of shower screens. So you would send your guys out to measure the dimensions of the room, and then come back and plug the measurements into this sheet, and this sheet will spit out all of the things that need to be cut. So you might not be able to see that. Let's see if I can zoom in. Yep. So there's like a bunch of framework that needs to be cut: doors, fixed panels, return panels. So there's a whole bunch of, and they're pretty much the same for every job. Like depending on the model of product you're installing, you'll be cutting the same thing. So it's very formulaic, and we've allowed those formulas to be built into the system. So in setting, when the platform was set up for you guys, or if it was set up for you, we'd figure out what kind of products you're working with, and then get that formula established into the system. In the future, we'll set up a way to allow you to do this yourself, but for the immediate future, we'll probably have to help you with that part. Then you'll have all of the options loaded in here. You can pick your model, and all of the customization options will load up. So for these guys, you can pick, because this is a 3-part wardrobe, you can pick the material that's used for the doors, give it a name. We'll call this the master robe. There's a couple of systems. This is all based on the manufacturer of the manufacturer's specifications. Then you can list down the internal width, the door opening width, the height, and the depth. There's a few other options down here. It's maybe different depending on what kind of products you're building, what kind of systems you work with. You can add images in here again, so add some weird AI stuff. And then for every installation you're doing, so for this job there might be like 4 or 5 wardrobes that are going in, you would create a new cutting sheet for each of them. And once that's completed, then you would create the job, and that will take you to the next view where you can see all of the details that you've just set up. There won't be a lot here until you actually add this to the calendar. So we're going to schedule this in for next week on Wednesday. Oops. And pick one of the installers. So these are all the people who go out onto the job site and actually install this thing. So I'll pick Joey and then add to the calendar. As soon as this job's on the calendar, then there's a number of tasks that are assigned with due dates. So the due dates for this job either fall on April the 1st or March the 29th. And they're assigned to stations. So a station for these guys, because they work in a warehouse, and this is probably the case for most prefabricators, it doesn't make sense to assign tasks to one particular person, and this is where most task management systems fall down, because some days you won't have a guy who's there, like, there's turnover. It's better if and like often your guys will work together to do jobs, and they'll do a bunch of jobs at the same time. So the way around that is assigning each of the tasks to a station. So if we jump over into the station view, these guys have a cleat station, a robe aluminium saw, shower aluminium saw, shower assembly. I won't go through all of them, but they have each of these stations that are assigned the tasks. So if you jump into these tasks, you can see all of the jobs they're working on, and the dates that these tasks are due. As they go through, they can check what they're supposed to be cutting. So they can see that for this job site, there's like 7 different cuts that they need to make, or 7 different robes that they're preparing. They can jump into each of these, and then they'll see the details of this ticket. Once they're done with that, they can tick it off, move on to the next one. They make their cuts, they check the details, they move on to the next one, and so on and so forth. Once they're done with all of the cuts, then they can tick that one off and it disappears from the list. There's some additional images and context for each of these jobs. So if what you're building doesn't fall nicely within the formula that I've described, then you can add notes and images. So you don't need to have this structure of adding dimensions. It can be pretty simple, where you can just record the dimensions of what you've measured and then add some notes and images for something custom. So it's pretty flexible in that way. Okay, cool. So jumping over to the calendar. So the calendar has a few statuses. As tasks become overdue, the color system will go red. And depending on the roles of your team members, if you set, I might not be able to show this one very effectively, but if you set different team members up as directors, then they will receive a notification anytime a project becomes overdue, or one of the guys in the warehouse adds a flag. So a flag might be incomplete, which is one that seems to happen a lot. So when you're working with a bunch of guys, if someone downstream doesn't do something, so if the guy who's supposed to be cutting the aluminium or assembling the boards doesn't do his job, and it comes your turn as the next person up the line to do the thing, and it's incomplete, you can flag it as incomplete. So the guys up in the office, or the directors, or the project manager, whoever's assigned to the role, will receive a task saying, hey, this thing isn't done, you need to go check it out, and they can go and problem solve, which it kind of circumvents that problem where, these issues are brewing under the surface and no one picks them up until the guys go out onto the site to install the thing, or, they're packing the wardrobe onto the truck, or whatever you're prefabricating. So there's a few checks and balances in here to prevent those things from happening. There's some other features like text reminders for your customers. So the day before the installation is due, your customers will receive a notification that says, hey, just a reminder that we're coming out tomorrow, be ready for us. so you don't end up in that tricky situation where, there's no one around and there's no keys. It doesn't happen all the time. Most of the time you'll probably be working on a job site, but if your customers are builders, then they will receive the notification, so it kind of keeps them in the loop. If your installers are taking time off, you can add their availability in here, and that will add these blocked out patches onto the calendar, which means that they won't be able to be assigned to jobs. There's also a way to consolidate jobs in the calendar, so I'll see if I can get this to work. I'll pick one of these. So if I have 2 jobs running on the same date, I can drag them on top of each other, and then there'll be this kind of stacked view. It's also possible to have jobs running over multiple days, which I may not be able to show you here. I might not be able to. I'd have to create a new job to go through the flow. But you can assign jobs to multiple people across multiple days. So everyone on the calendar will be blocked out for a week because they're going off to install like a big set of apartments with a new with a dozen shower screens and wardrobes. So it's pretty flexible. It's built specifically for prefabricators, and we're trying to test the waters to see if this is too specific to how these guys work, or if there's other businesses out there that would benefit from this kind of management system. Because I know a lot of people in this industry have tried platforms like Asana, or Todoist, or like the project management systems that are really built for more like for software developers and marketing firms, and they just don't work properly. And there are a couple of products that are specific for tradespeople, but they're not amazing, and they're kind of a bit not focused. So this one is just for prefabricators, and so this is a quick overview to get some feedback on where the features are that we probably still need to add in, whether this looks like it would be a good fit, so that's it. Thanks for watching. We'd love to hear your feedback, and if you want a deeper demonstration of what the platform can do and how it could help you out, then please let me know. I would be happy to speak to you. Cheers.